Hello, hello. Welcome, Pagan Tribal Gathering. It is fantastic to be here. I'm just going to check to make sure my live stream is actually showing on the page, because you know how technology works. Yep, there's my face. Whether you like it or not, there's my face. Hello, I'm Rachel Patterson. I'm a witch and a published author. I'm also elder of the Kitchen Witch Coven and High Priestess, and we also run an online school of witchcraft. I'm also lucky enough to write for quite a few of the pagan magazines and blogs and talks at local events. I would have been at the Pagan Tribal Gathering this year, but for obvious reasons not. But we'll be there next year. We will be there next year. Really looking forward to it. If you are watching, do pop a hello in the comments so that I can see that I'm not talking to myself. I do talk to myself a lot. I find I get quite good answers, actually. Fantastic program on for you this weekend from the lovely Pagan Tribal Group. Some amazing talks and music and all sorts of fab things. So do watch this evening and all day tomorrow. Lots and lots of things happening. Hello, Sue. Good evening. So yes, we are obviously the night before Samhain. Fantastic time for us pagans, perhaps one of the most celebrated Sabbats, I would think. Means summer's end. Good evening, Leslie Ann. Yes, very nice to see you again. So Samhain is the celebration of the third and final harvest of the year as well. This is the time of the year when our ancestors would have been taking all of the livestock and dispatching them to put them away, to store away, to feed themselves over the winter. So they would have been a bit of celebration at the end of the harvest to store things away, to take them through the cold months. But for us pagans, I think probably the most important part of Samhain is to celebrate our ancestors, as to honour those that passed before us. So Samhain, I think, is probably key for a lot of pagans for divination, for looking to see what's going to happen in the year ahead, and for working with spirit to connect with our ancestors and our loved ones. Good evening, Maria. So I like to work with herbs and with food. That's one of my key areas. I've got a little bit of a reputation. Well, actually, our coven's got a bit of a reputation for cake. We are the cake coven. But particularly working with magical food and with magical herbs. So I've picked some this evening to talk to you about that I think are quite heavily associated with Samhain, particularly with the psychic abilities, with the psychic powers, with connecting to the other world, to the spirit world. So that's what I'm going to run through this evening. If you have any questions, do please pop them in the comments and I will do my very best to answer them. So I'm looking first at probably the most well-known, and I'm really embarrassed to say that I don't have a pumpkin here. That's an awful thing to say, isn't it, for a witch? But we're going to my daughter's tomorrow to celebrate Samhain and my birthday. So all the pumpkins are there. So I don't have one there, but I do have pumpkin seeds, which are actually quite delicious to snack on. If you are carving your pumpkins, do save the seeds. They can be washed and dried and used for magical workings. Very, very good for prosperity, also crone magic, and also healing. 3 fantastic properties for the pumpkin seed. And you can also dry them, put a bit of oil, salt and pepper on them and roast them in the oven too. Delicious. But I do tend to save them for magical workings. So a pumpkin is for all year, not just for Halloween. Brilliant to work with for magic. There's obviously all kinds of shapes and sizes and different types. Good evening, Lani. Can be used in savoury and sweet. It has such a strong Samhain connection, and I think that comes from the connection to crone magic as well. For me, that's goes hand in hand with Samhain. It's the crone goddess for me. Good evening, Vanessa. The Kalak is my main goddess that I work with, and it's her time. She arrived a few weeks ago, full power. So this Samhain is perfect for her. Good evening, Jan. So crone magic is brilliant for this time of the year. But prosperity, that I use them generally for prosperity magic. You can bake them into pies, you can bake them into casseroles, you can bake them into cakes to bring in abundance and prosperity and money. But it also has fantastic healing properties as well. So if you need to do some healing, you could work them into a spell pouch or a witch bottle. And of course, you can make pumpkin pie. That always makes me feel better. Or pumpkin cookies or pumpkin loaf. Brilliant for making you feel better. It is ruled by the moon. So with tomorrow being a big old blue moon, perfect. Pumpkin ties in so well with it. It's the element of earth it's associated with, and it's also feminine. If you think about the shape of a pumpkin, it is womb-shaped, and all the seeds inside, very fertile. So I think seeds themselves, any type of seeds, are really good for fertility magic. But the pumpkin as a whole is very, very feminine energy. So that's the pumpkin. So don't throw your seeds away. Dry them, save them for magic. Brilliant for prosperity, crone magic, and healing. The next one you will hopefully be familiar with, and it is a pomegranate. Yeah, for some reason, I don't have a pumpkin, but I do have a pomegranate. Leslie Ann says, here we go. Pumpkins are lovely, but a US import. Yes, they are. From the early 18th century, the Samhain heads were turnips. Yes, turnips and swede were what us British had to carve into lanterns. Have you ever tried carving a turnip or a swede? It is a job and a half, I tell you that. But yes, pumpkins did come in from America, but very, very useful for working different types of magic, as are turnips and swede. Actually, they've all got their own magical properties. But the next one is pomegranate. And I have cut one in half. It's not actually quite ripe yet, so it's not very dark inside. But inside pomegranate are lots and lots of seeds, and these obviously are connected to Persephone and the underworld. Actually, my dad used to give us pomegranates when we were children. He'd go to the market on a Saturday morning, come back, give us half a pomegranate each, me and my brother, and a pin each. And we would sit there and pick out all of the seeds. It kept us busy for ages. I suspect that's what it was actually for, just to keep us quiet. But very, very fun things to work with. And they do have a nice flavour. It does seem like a grand kind of extravagant fruit to me. It's not something that you eat every day. To me, it is a special celebration fruit. Perhaps it shouldn't be. But the colour, I think, of the seeds and sides makes me think of richness and abundance. Obviously, it's the Persephone connection. So it represents growth and fertility. Again, seeds for fertility. But of course, Persephone and spring, it's got that connection. But it's also associated with Samhain and the underworld because of the Hades connection. I think it works well as well for death and rebirth magic, as well as new beginnings. So you've got growth, fertility, good for wishes, the death and rebirth, and new beginnings. So a good one to work with this time of the year, because I think Samhain is particularly good for releasing. It's a good time to look back at everything that you've done so far this year and let go of it. So release the stuff that didn't work, get rid of the things that weren't right, and give yourself a new beginning. Look back, clear out, do some inner work, and some manifesting for the year to come. So pomegranate is absolutely brilliant for that, because it has that death and rebirth and then the new beginnings. As for using them in magic, the seeds are a little bit wet and squishy, so they don't really work well other than eating in magic. Pomegranate juice as well is brilliant for offerings and working in ritual. I haven't tried it, but I'm thinking I might try and dry some of the skin of the pomegranate. I do that with oranges and lemons and limes. I might try it with a pomegranate and dry some of the skin and see how that works. I'll let you know. I'll come back to you on that one. But I think they are a particularly special and magical fruit because they do have such a strong connection. And I've now got pomegranate seeds absolutely everywhere. I'm going to be covered in them. The next one I want to work with is star anise, and I'm looking over here to see where my tub of it is. I've got boxes of things over here. I love star anise. It is one of my very, very favourites, and it does look like a star. And it open the lid, it smells amazing. It's got that real aniseedy flavour. I do associate this one with Yule, but I've put it in for Samhain as well because quite a lot of the pumpkin spice things that again seem to have come across from America, but I'm not complaining because I love the pumpkin spices that you get in pumpkin spice lattes and things like that. Star anise is one of those, and it does smell amazing. But I've also put it in here because it is one of my go-to spices for psychic powers. If I'm looking for something if I'm making a connection with spirit or doing any kind of divination, star anise is one of my go-to to boost the psychic powers. It is an ancient herb. The star shape, obviously, star anise, is where it gets the name from. The fruits are dried in the sun, and it has, if you look inside, the star is just the seed pod. The little seeds are inside each part of the star. They're delicious aroma and taste. If you put one of these in the corner of each room in your home, it will bring protection. And it also is very purifying. So if you want to make an incense blend to clear the air, then pop some of this in it because that will purify it all as well. Keep star anise on your altar to help keep a spiritual connection. And place star anise beneath your pillow to induce prophetic dreams and also to help you sleep. But it is purifying and protecting is key one, but psychic abilities. You can wear it as well in an amulet or a pouch to help provide psychic protection as well and to keep away negative energies. Make a sachet of star anise and bay and pop it in your bath water. That will make a brilliant ritual bath to help purify and cleanse your aura and your energy field. And it's also a good one to work with on new moon because it gives that kind of cleansing, purifying, start again kind of feel. So it's also very lucky, good for luck, good for psychic powers, good for purification, good for protection, dreams, spirituality, and sleep. And Lani says star anise is great in curries. Absolutely. Indian food is one of my favourites. And also, if you want to make a very nice chai latte, you've got to chuck some star anise in there as well, because that's brilliant. It's ruled by the planet Jupiter, and it's element of air because it's got that purifying, cleansing scent to it. It's associated with the element of air. And the gender is masculine, so it's got quite a powerful masculine punch to it as well. So that is very, very useful. That goes in any of my psychic powers mixes. Another good one to have. And then one we're probably all familiar with is the rose. And this has got so many uses. It's good for lots and lots of different things. But again, it's one that I put in. I know it probably doesn't look actually like they are rose petals. We have actually still got roses flowering in the garden because, you know, Mother Nature's menopausal and doesn't got a clue what season we're in. But I've got rose petals in here that I dried from roses from my garden. So they've got quite a strong connection with me as well because I've grown them myself. But roses are so good for all sorts of things. So absolutely brilliant for psychic powers, but so many other things. Love, healing, luck, protection, peace, mysteries, knowledge, dreams, friendship, another death and rebirth one. So ties in very nicely with Samhain, and abundance. Such a good all-purpose kind of plant. And you don't have to grow them yourself. You can buy roses in the shop, and once the flowers start to fade, take the petals off and dry them. Very easy to get hold of. And the different colours as well. I tend to work with white ones for peace, red ones for passion, pink ones for love, yellow ones for friendship. But I think they've all got a strong psychic powers connection to them. I actually also saved the thorns because the thorns are really good for protection spell work because they're spiky. And if you get the thorns that are really long, you can use them for carving into candles as well. Maria says she places some in witch jars. Yeah, rose petals are excellent for witch jars. And we've got a hello from Pia. Hello, Pia. Big thank you to Pia for organising this weekend. She's an absolute superstar. Thank you for the invitation to be here. So rose is really good for death and rebirth and for psychic powers for this time of the year. And of course, rose petals can be added to anything, to incense blends, to medicine pouches, to witch bottles, all kinds of things. You can even make them into a tea. You can make a tea to drink to help you with your psychic powers. Leslie Ann says Mother Nature's menopause. Yeah, I do. Honestly, I think we are so out of sync with the seasons that I do think Mother Nature's either menopause or drunk or both. And I don't blame her, to be honest. But I think we are quite out of touch with the seasons and the dates on the calendar. I think, yeah, it's all a bit bizarre at the moment. I think perhaps that's why, although I do celebrate the Sabbats, I do tend to work more with the energy that I feel. I work with the energy that I notice in my garden, and I work with the energy that I feel each day, each week, each month, rather than dates on the calendar. Because for me, you've got a much stronger connection with Mother Nature. She's the one that controls all the seasons anyway. So, brilliant to connect with her energy, I think, on a more regular basis rather than a date on the calendar. But the Sabbats are fantastic to celebrate because it means we get to do things like this and to celebrate with each other. I don't need an excuse to meet up with you guys. It is an absolute pleasure. Heather says, I use rose in most spells. Yeah, they are such a good all-rounder. And the lovely Pia has just told me that I've got a whole hour with you guys. So I apologise now that you have to listen to me waffle for an hour. So do ask some questions to keep me going. But yeah, rose is another one that's absolutely brilliant for all sorts of things. I think it's got, to me, the death and rebirth connection is because it flowers during the summer. And then it appears to be dead during the winter, but then it comes back to life in the spring. But as I say, we've still got roses flowering at the moment at the end of October. Last year we had roses flowering in December. So, it is mad at the minute. But yes, very good for death and rebirth, very good for psychic powers. So excellent for this time of the year. You can also sprinkle them in your bath water to bring relaxing and love, and brilliant for workings for luck and abundance as well. Chuck a few of those in. And of course, save them if you're going to be doing any hand fastings, because they're brilliant to throw at the happy couple. That's that one. Next one. I have got a few. I'm glad I got a few here. Lani loves a good waffle. Thank you, Lani. Waffling I'm good at. Now, I'm really embarrassed to say the next one is apple, and I haven't got any. That's just awful, isn't it? We had apples at our kitchen witch Samhain ritual last week, and I used the ones I had then and haven't got any more since. So you need to use your imagination for this one. I do actually generally, because apples are a difficult one to keep, I do generally have some sliced dried apples, but I haven't got any at the minute, or the apple seeds. Because using a fresh apple in your magical workings is sometimes a bit tricky. So dry apple slices on a very, very low oven for a couple of hours or so, and they keep for ages. Or keep the seeds. Dry the seeds from an apple and keep them. Or even the stalk from the apple, or even the wood from the apple. I've got a beautiful wand that I was gifted that's made from apple wood, which is brilliant. And of course, if you cut an apple in half horizontally, and open it up, you get the 5-pointed star, you get the pentagram. So it is a very magical fruit, and of course it's connected to Avalon, the other world. So it has that. otherworld connection. So it's brilliant for spirit work and making that connection to the other world. Brilliant, so to make for wand making, absolutely brilliant for wand making. And it has a link to the autumn equinox because that's when apples are in season, and that carries on through to Samhain. Also good for love spells and healing. And you don't need to just use them in spell work. You can eat them, make an apple pie and put the intent of abundance or love or healing into it, and you've got the magic in there. There is that Avalon connection, so it works really well with any of the Avalon deities. It is considered a food for the dead, so excellent to use in spirit work or to use as offerings. My suggestion is to bake an apple pie and dedicate it to Avalon and eat it in honor of your ancestors. Because, you know, I don't really need an excuse to eat an apple pie or apple cake or... Let's have a look what Maria says. Used to twist the stalk and recite the alphabet, and whatever letter it comes off at is the person's initial you will meet. They have got an awful lot of folklore apple, haven't they? I've seen that one as well, where you peel an apple, and however it drops, whatever shape the peel drops in, is the letter of the person that you're going to marry. And apparently as well, if you do it in one long continuous peel, that will tell you the amount of time that you have left to live. Happy bit of folklore, that one. But they have got an awful lot of folklore connected to them. But they are good. Love, healing, clarity, knowledge, abundance, spirit work. Absolutely brilliant for spirit work. They're ruled by the planet Venus, so you've got that love connection in there as well. They are the element of water, so you've got that whole emotions thing going on as well. And they are very feminine. So the apple is really a big old bunch of watery, lovey, feminine energy. But brilliant for this time of the year, for apple bobbing as well, which is a very old tradition connected with this time of the year. And we caramel apple, toffee apples, you know, lots and lots of things connected with apple and games and things. Lizzie used to do that when we were kids. Yeah. It's funny the folklore stories that kids pick up on and that we remember. The next one I want to talk about, I also don't have because it's beer. And I'm sorry, I don't have any beer in the house. Could offer you a cup of tea or some water actually, which I'll just have, but no beer. But beer is really good well, it's made of grain and water and other stuff, obviously. Not going to get technical about it. So it brings together the elements of earth and water. Leslie Ann is suggesting, apple fritters. Apple fritters are amazing, and the batter can be spiced. Yeah, chuckles, cinnamon particularly, and nutmeg. Yum. Making me really hungry now. And I've had my tea. But beer is really good because it brings the earth and water together. But it's got a Samhain story to it. I don't know how true this is, but it's one of those folklore stories. Apparently on Samhain, Celtic warriors held contests to see who could drink the most beer. Nothing changes, does it? Nothing changes at all. Evolution has not happened. They believed that this course of action would make them immortal. Wonder how that worked out for them. Pretty much like any Saturday night down the pub. But that, I think, it gives beer that Samhain connection. Lizzie's cider is better. Yes, Lizzie's suggesting that cider is better. And of course, you've got the apples in that as well. So yes, there's a Samhain connection with beer there. And I really, let's not tell the blokes here. Blokes, close your ears. According to historical data, women invented beer. Again, I don't know how true that is, but in my researches, that's come up. So we invented it. But it is a good liquid to purify the body, not by drinking gallons of it, but to add a little to your bath water or to drink a small amount. And yes, I did say small amount, but that's what it brings. It brings that purification. And apparently the Egyptians believed that dreaming about beer was a good omen. So if you have beer dreams, it foretells good stuff coming your way. Hopefully not a hangover. It's long been used as a ritual offering, and it does make quite a nice drink if you're in a ritual circle. So very, very good one for dreams, purification, and offerings. And I think offerings is the key one for me here, other than the Samhain warrior competition. I think for me it's offerings, because if you are going to do any spirit work and if you are going to honor your ancestors, then it is really good to leave some offerings for them, and beer is perfect. Ruled by the planet Mars, which kind of makes sense, and the element of fire, obviously, and it's masculine, got to be, really, hasn't it? So that's hopefully giving you a different look of beer on beer. And another one which is perhaps more often associated with Samhain is garlic. Now, I have got some garlic, but this is what I do with garlic. And I'm desperately trying not to make any vampire jokes because it is so associated with vampires. But when I work with garlic on a magical level, I use the garlic in my cooking. I don't waste it. I use the garlic bulbs in my cooking. And what I actually save, and you can see there, is the paper. It's the papery wrappings from outside of the garlic, because these normally just get thrown away or thrown in the compost heap. So I keep these for magical working, because let's face it, you don't really want a stinky garlic bulb in any of your spells. So the paper still carries the magical energy of garlic, but it's much, much easier to use and to keep and store. And it means that I'm not wasting something as well. So that's what I do when I want to use garlic in magical workings. But it is another one that's really, really good for all sorts of things. It is incredibly beneficial to your health. Still trying not to make vampire jokes. Brilliant to use in all kinds of magical workings. Garlic is sacred to the Greek goddess Hecate and can be left at crossroads as an offering to her. Please, please be careful at main road crossroads. Wandering out into the middle of the main road to leave a garlic bulb is probably not advisable. You can carry garlic with you to provide personal protection, or hang bulbs of garlic in your home to protect against thieves and evil spirits, still not mentioning vampires. Carrying garlic with you should also provide protection against psychic attacks, which is what I think is quite interesting to give it that Samhain connection, because if you're doing a lot of psychic work, then it is mindful to have a little bit of protection in place. Maria always wondered if you could use the paper. Yeah, I use it in place of garlic in all my magical workings, Maria, because it is part of the garlic and you don't waste it. Oh, hello. If you come to meet a pomegranate. To anybody that hasn't met him before, this is Eric, and he's going to be very helpful. Lani has started collecting the paper from the garlic, but my daughter has given me strange looks. Yes, people do. People do give you strange looks. But yes, very, very useful for protection. Again, I probably wouldn't carry the garlic bulbs. I would make a little pouch with garlic paper. You can also use it in any protection or hex breaking workings, and it's brilliant to dispel negative energy. And vampires, had to mention it. You can eat garlic, apparently to induce lust, although I would suggest that you either both eat it or you don't eat too much, because garlic breath is definitely going to outweigh any lusty effects that the garlic might bring. Garlic salt is quite good if you want to use it in magical workings, as it carries the properties of garlic, but it also combines the properties of salt as well. And it's in a much easier format to work with. Garlic salt, it's easier to add to witch bottles and pouches than bulbs of garlic. But yes, as I say, I use the skins. Images of garlic have apparently been found in Egyptian tombs, depicted as offerings to the gods. And apparently those who built the pyramids were paid partly in garlic. So there you go. Not sure any builders would accept payment in garlic today, but you never know. Roman soldiers apparently ate garlic before going into battle. It provided them with strength and courage. And you can burn the garlic skins in your house to keep money coming in. It helps dispel negative energy and ease depression and brings abundance your way. You can remove illness by rubbing a fresh clove of garlic over the body where the problem lies, then throw the garlic bulb away into running water or bury it at crossroads. Although obviously that is, folk magic, so let's not use that in place of any proper medication. Not that you would, but we have to put the disclaimer there. Hanging a braid of garlic in your home by a doorway should discourage unpleasant visitors as well. So it is really, really good all-rounder. Maria saw that fact on Horrible Histories. See, Horrible Histories is a really good source of information. If you've never seen it, you do need to watch Horrible Histories. It's brilliant. You learn so much from that program. So garlic is brilliant. Healing, protection, hex breaking, negative energies, lust, strength, courage, depression. And I'm working with it for Samhain to give that protection, psychic protection, really, against negative energies. Ruled by the planet of Mars, element of fire, and the gender is masculine. But a really, really useful one, that garlic, very useful indeed. And my apologies to any vampires. Another one, which I actually love the name of, it's Artemisia vulgaris, which is actually mugwort. I have some here and have to thank my lovely friend Sue because she gave me some of the mugwort that she grew in her garden. It is all mashed up here. I have squished it all up. Lani says pink salt is great for working with love and healing. Yeah, pink salt's expensive though, Lani. I'm too cheap to buy that. I'm way too cheap to buy Ponzi salt. But yes, it is very good. Salt itself is very good, isn't it? But yes, I got mugwort here. Very ancient herb used for healing, magic, and divination. Also known to be protective to women and travellers. The Latin name, Artemisia, has the connection with Artemis, the Greek moon goddess, and also patron of women. So it's excellent herb for feminine energy, protecting women in particular, and feminine issues. Place a bundle of mugwort under your pillow to bring about a peaceful sleep and aid with lucid dreams and astral travel. So it's got that dreaming, astral travel kind of connection, which is brilliant for this time of the year. It also makes a really good alternative to sage in smudge sticks for cleansing and cleaning. I am told that Vikings used to use mugwort to cleanse the air, to get rid of negative energies. So really, really good for making smudge sticks with. Carry mugwort with you to provide psychic protection. And using workings to increase your psychic powers. So it's got that connection again for this time of the year. Samhain, psychic powers. You can throw mugwort onto the fire at midsummer to ensure protection for the following year. It also doesn't seem to be favoured particularly by the fairy world. So if you want to keep them out of the house, hang some over your threshold. A wash made with mugwort, dried mugwort steeped in boiled water, can be used to cleanse your crystals and tools or added to your floor wash. And Maria's just said, can you eat it? You can make mugwort tea, and that can help with your divination skills. So yeah, you'd make mugwort tea just the same as you'd make peppermint tea or something like that. I don't particularly like the flavour. It's one of those ones for me that tastes like grass. So hasn't got a particularly strong smell, but no, it's not for me the most pleasant tasting tea. But yes, you can make a tea from it, which is very good to drink before you do any kind of divination work. Also, apparently, if you place mugwort in your shoes, you will gain strength and stamina. But make smudge sticks with them. Absolutely brilliant for smudge sticks. You need to pick them when the flowers are still in bud, preferably. Leave them to dry for a few days and then bundle them up. There, Leslie has added here. It's called mugwort because it was used to make beer before hops were introduced. Mugwort, oh, brilliant. There you go. Thank you very much, Leslie. Fantastic. Very, very useful one to work with for strength, psychic powers, protection, dreams, healing, astral travel, feminine energy, and cleansing. It's ruled by the moon, but also by Venus. So with the blue moon again tomorrow, very good one to work with. The sign it's under is Cancer, and it is an earth element herb, and the gender is obviously very, very feminine with that Artemis connection and patron of women. So another very, very useful herb to work with, and it can be grown really easily in the UK. So that's that one. Yeah, Eric's gone to sleep now, thankfully. The next one is wormwood. I have some here, but again, it's been squished up. So again, it doesn't really smell of anything. They all look pretty much the same when they're all blended up like this, just little bits of green and sticky stuff. This one, again, a good name, Artemisia absinthium. And you know where I'm going with this, don't you, with that second word? It is a perennial plant. It's got silvery green pretty leaves, but it's also used as an ingredient in the alcoholic drink absinthe. I have to tell you, I have tasted it. We had absinthe at a party once. I only just lived to tell the tale. I'm not a big drinker, but as far as I'm concerned, absinthe is absolutely lethal. You wouldn't want to spill it on anything because it would strip the paint straight off. So yes, absinthe is quite powerful, but that's where the name came from because it's got wormwood in it. It is used in magic for vengeance, revenge, and attacking. I will leave it up to you if that's what you want to use it for. It's absolutely your call, but it is particularly good for those magical purposes. But it's also very good in protective magic workings, or carry some with you to bring about protection. But it also carries the magic of being really good for dream workings, for journeying, and in any kind of divination spells and workings, and to increase your psychic abilities. So it's absolutely brilliant for Samhain, for the psychic abilities, and the journeying and the dream working. For this time of the year, it's spot on. So vengeance, attack magic, protection, divination, dreams, meditation, psychic powers. If you get the chance to taste absinthe, I would do it just to say you've tried it. It's definitely an experience. Ruled by the planet Mars and moon. So another good moon connection for tomorrow. Element of fire, and it's a masculine herb. So another very useful one for this time of the year. Well, generally useful, actually. Another one that I haven't got, but it's marigold. And I'll tell you why I haven't got it. I have had marigold in the past. We grow them in our garden, but we have a snail population in our garden, and they absolutely love to eat the marigolds right down to the ground. So we didn't have any this summer because we got tired of feeding the snails with them. But normally I do have some marigolds. It is an annual bedding plant. There's all sorts of different species. But yeah, I'm actually told that slugs don't like the taste of them, but whoever said that is lying because they love my marigolds. But it is one of my plants of choice to put together with any spell workings or incense blends for psychic powers. You can put marigolds under your bed to ensure a good sleep and keep away nightmares and to invite prophetic dreams. Place marigold flowers around your house and hang over doorways for protection. And it also brings a nice positive energy to your household. They're bright, cheerful colours, and they've got the energy of the sun. So marigold is brilliant to use for happiness and uplifting workings as well. Carry it with you to bring luck, and it's particularly good if you're involved in a legal case or if you're a gambler. It will bring you good luck. You can mix it with bay leaf and use it in any workings to protect against gossip. So very, very useful for that. You can drink it as a tea to help with your psychic powers. And it is psychic powers, dreams, protection, luck, happiness, and anti-gossip. So another quite useful one. Ruled by the sun, so it's got that masculine fiery energy. It is a masculine herb, and it is a fire element herb. So really, really useful one for psychic powers, that one. But yeah, The slugs, snails, they love it. Maria's suggesting beer traps. Yeah, we have tried all sorts of things, Maria, but where we've got a walled garden, it's ideal for snails. They love it. There you go. Not much we can do about it, really. Another one is yarrow. I have got some, but it's in the greenhouse drying at the moment. So Achillea is the other name for it. Perennial plant, feathery dark green leaves and heads of. Ours are a sort of terracotta colour, but you can get all sorts of shades. And you can also find wild ones growing on roadsides and meadows. Achilles apparently used yarrow as a field dressing for his wounds of his soldiers during the Trojan War. Obviously didn't have enough left to use on his heel. Perhaps he should have done. The herb was often referred to as the devil's plaything, and indeed during the 17th century, a woman was tried as a witch for using yarrow in her spells. Let's not get into the no devil in the witchcraft thing. Let's leave that for them. It was also apparently used by druids for weather prediction, and young ladies would also use it to show visions of who their true love might be. The dried yarrow heads were apparently used in some form of divination. Be interesting to try that, actually. Carry it with you to allay fears and bring you personal courage. Keep it under your pillow to enhance prophetic dreams. Drink yarrow tea or burn as an incense to increase your psychic powers. So there we've got the psychic powers connection again. Bring it into your home or burn as an incense to invite love, happiness, and peace. You can scatter it around your property as well, or carry some with you to bring about protection. So another very, very useful work. Clinty's saying whoop whoop druids. Yep, there is a connection to druids with yarrow. Psychic powers, love, courage, exorcism, dreams, peace, happiness, divination, and protection. Ruled by the planet Venus, the element of water, and the gender is feminine. So another really, really useful one. I don't remember all this stuff. I'm taking all of this from the Kitchen Witch's World of Magical Food and the Kitchen Witch's World of Magical Plants and Herbs, if you can see that. 2 books that I did write them, I promise. And I am familiar with all of these, but I don't remember all of the information. So rather than me umming and ahhing, I have it written down. Nutmeg is the next one. Hopefully you're all familiar with the nutmeg. One of my very favourite flavours, actually. Carry it with you for good luck and to attract money to you. Whole nutmeg makes a really good luck charm. Sprinkle nutmeg, powdered, not the whole ones. Ground your property to protect against negative energy. Keep a whole nutmeg under your bed to ensure the fidelity in your relationship stays solid. I am also reliably informed that nutmeg is sometimes used in the place of High John the Conqueror in spell work. I am very much of the opinion that as a kitchen witch, I want to use items that I have to hand, that I have in my kitchen, that are easily accessible, that don't cost lots of money. And High John the Conqueror for me would mean shipping it in from across the globe, and paying money. So I don't tend to use that, I must admit. I'll use something that's far more associated with me and my locality. Not that nutmeg grows here, but you can buy it in the supermarket. So money, luck, fidelity, and protection nutmeg. Ruled by the planet Jupiter, element of fire, and it's masculine. Now, there's no psychic powers connection here, but nutmeg for me is another one of those Samhain spices because you do get it in pumpkin pies and in the pumpkin lattes. Could you write the books on the chat, please? Oh, okay. Yes, I will put them in the comments afterwards. Thank you. Yes, I will write them down in there. Thank you very much. So nutmeg, another very, very useful one. One you're perhaps more familiar with now is bay. I do grow bay leaves in my garden, but honestly, if you pick them up from the supermarket, and if you've got an Asian supermarket near you, it's like an Aladdin's cave of herbs and spices, and at really seriously sensible prices. So I have some bay leaves from the Asian supermarket there. They're huge compared to the ones that I grow in my garden. These are brilliant because you can write on them. they're absolutely excellent for writing petitions and spell working on the actual leaves. I think it has a strong psychic power connection, and I think it's because bay was used in incense at the Delphic oracle, so it's got that strong psychic connection. You can add bay to any spell work as well to give it a bit of a power boost. Use it in blends for purifying, cleansing, protecting, to bless your home, but also to increase your spiritual and magical connections. It can be used in pouches and powders to increase your creativity and your inspiration. Place it under your pillow for prophetic dreams, and you can write a wish on your bay leaf. Bury it, burn it, send it off to the wind, whatever you want to do with it, but very good for writing petitions on. Hang a bundle of bay leaves or a bay wreath, if you're feeling particularly creative, above your door to bring protection to your home. Carry a bay leaf with you for protection and strength. Protection, purification, strength, power, healing, creativity, spirituality, and psychic powers. Ruled by the planet Sun, and it's a fire element and a masculine leaf. So another really, really useful and easily accessible ingredient to work with magic. Maria puts nutmeg and cinnamon in the cheese sauce for macaroni cheese. Fabulous. It actually works really, really well. Bay as well. All very that real savoury. But yes, nutmeg and cinnamon both work really well in savoury dishes. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I like these recipe tips. Another one that you're probably familiar with is sage. Very, very useful. Now, I don't use white sage because I live in the UK, and white sage is not happy growing in the UK. It's not native to the UK. So I use, these are a bit dried, but I use good old garden sage, the normal green stuff or variegated stuff that grows in the UK gardens, and it does exactly the same job. It's got a slightly different scent. It'll probably, when you do your cleansing, it does smell a little bit like Sunday dinner. Sage and onion stuffing, but it does the job. And I can grow it. It grows in the garden and it's free, and I can pick it, or you can get it from the supermarket. So it works brilliantly for me, rather than using something that's not native to our country. But it's really good for cleansing, purifying, and protection. You can carry it with you to help ensure wisdom and aid with your intuition, which is really good if doing any divination work. You can cleanse and purify. You can make it into smudge bundles. It makes really nice smudge bundles. That's two difficult words to say quickly. If you add rosemary and lavender in as well into your smudge bundle, it works brilliantly. Keep sage on your windowsill to encourage abundance and success. Write a wish on a sage leaf, perhaps not on one of these little tiny ones. You'd need a bigger leaf. Place it under your pillow. If you dream of your goal, then the wish will come true. So another one that's really good as well for lots of things: protection, wishes, wisdom, purification, stimulation, intuition, abundance, and success. Ruling planets Jupiter, element of air, because it's got that purifying energy, and the gender is masculine. So some really, really useful, easily accessible, hopefully, generally, ingredients. So I'm a kitchen witch, so I use whatever I have to hand. Robin's saying, no, not the smudge bundle. Well, yes, it is a bit of a touchy subject, but let me just mention here that smudging or cleansing with smoke is found in most cultures across the globe. I know we're used to it being connected with Native American Indians, and the white sage smudge bundles are, and the Native American Indians have very particular rituals that they use for smudging. But as I said before, with the mugwort, Vikings used to use it to cleanse. They used the smoke to cleanse things. It can be found in all sorts of cultures across the globe, going back right through history. So most cultures do have their own practice of working, cleansing with smoke. And in fact, smudge comes from an old English word called smudging or smogan, which means to cleanse with smoke. So I think if you are going to do the cleansing with smoke, which is a brilliant tool for any witch, pagan, whatever to work with, I prefer to use a herb that is native to my country and something that I'm familiar with, which is why I tend to go with the garden sage or rosemary or lavender. But you can cleanse with anything else other than smoke. You can cleanse with scented candles, you can cleanse with incense sticks, you can cleanse with salted water, you can cleanse with visualization. There are lots of other options. I would absolutely encourage you to look at a herb that you find in your garden or in your locality and smudge with the smoke from that. So it's my little lecture on smudging. What I wanted to show you just before we finish up, working with psychic energies and particularly with ancestors is very connected to Samhain. So if you are going to do any ancestor or spirit work, use some of those herbs that will boost your psychic abilities. Robin is saying, of course, incense and herbs have been used, but I do think it should have some thought behind it. Well, absolutely. That's what I'm saying. Do some research. Don't just pick up a bundle of white sage from your local witchy shop. Have a think, do some research, connect with the land that you're living on and think about something that means something to you, that's got a connection to you and to your spirituality and the area that you live in. Absolutely, it should have some connection to you. So I'm going to show you, this is what I work with. This is my spell pouch, medicine bundle, journeying kit, whatever you want to call it. I don't really have a name for it, but it is, I was tied up, and it is a piece of fabric. It's quite a fantastic piece of fabric, actually. It's got skeletons on it, obviously. I made it. It's a square of fabric. It's a fat quarter. You can buy them from eBay, just fat quarters. And this time of the year, there'll be all sorts of Halloween fabric that you can just buy in a fat quarter. It is literally just that size. And I lined it with a plain piece. Now you can hopefully see that I've got all sorts of stuff chucked in here. I use this when I am journeying. I use this when I am working with meditations, with path workings, with connecting with spirit, with connecting with my ancestors, with connecting with my animal spirits, also anything that involves that kind of meditative state and connecting with spirit. I open this up because it's got all sorts of things in here that will give me that connection. So I've got pieces of cinnamon, I've got bay leaves, rose petals, I've got jasmine flowers, things I add when I feel that I need to add them, and I'll sometimes take things out. Lizzie says she uses her smudge sticks made from her garden herbs. For me, it's got to have that connection to it. But you also have to trust your intuition and go with what works for you. What works for you might not work for someone else. So I've got all sorts of herbs and things in here, but I've also got, and here's the connection to the ancestors, I have a brooch that belonged to my grandmother. She passed over many years ago now. I have an RAF badge that belonged to my great uncle. Again, he passed away a few years ago. I have a brooch here that I bought down in Tintagel that depicts Arthur. So for me, that's an Avalon connection to the other world. I have various crystals in here. I've got selenite. That's really good for divination. Clinty says, like a travel altar. Yeah, it is, kind of, but you just roll it up. And I take out things and I put in things as and when, but they all help me to make that connection to spirit. For any kind of spirit work that I'm doing or ancestor work that I'm doing, I've got a pentagram in there for protection and to bring in the elements. I have some sea glass for working with intuition and emotions. Got a feather for the intuition and the intellect and the air connection. I have a little stone that represents my dragon. I have a dragon guide. Piece of smoky quartz, which is absolutely brilliant for psychic powers and psychic connection. I've got a piece of star anise, an acorn, all sorts of bits and pieces that for me help me make that connection and that representation for connecting with spirit. I have a hagstone to represent my matron goddess, the Kelech. She helps me with everything, basically. So that's my representation of her. I also have a little charm bracelet with my wild boar on, who is my main animal spirit guide. So all of these things in here help me whenever I'm doing any spirit work, any ancestor work. I open it up and immediately the smell of the herbs helps me with that connection, and all the items do. And sometimes I will be drawn to pick up one or two of the items to hold as I'm doing my journeying or my connectioning. Robin says a mojo bag. Yep, absolutely. It works for me. It doesn't have to be anything fancy like this. You could put it in a little pouch. It works for me. And it's a very personal thing as well. And I just roll it up when I don't need it and we're done. So there's lots of things with that psychic connection. There's lots of things that can help you connect with the spirit world. Go with your intuition. Trust with what works for you and what you've got in your own kitchen cupboards and your own magical cupboards. Trust your intuition. It won't let you down. And that's it really. If you have any questions, do put them in the comments after. So I'm very aware that I'm now running out of time. I knew I'd waffle longer. If you've got any questions, pop them in the comments afterwards and I will be more than happy to answer them. But it's been an absolute pleasure to connect with you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you to Pia for inviting me. And I absolutely hope that I'll be able to see you all in person next year at the camp. That would be absolutely fantastic. Stay online, because coming up on the page next is Andy Lynch with his horoscope for Samhain. So do stay online for that. And there's more stuff going on the rest of this evening. And tomorrow you've got a whole day packed full of fantastic things. So big love to Pia for organising this all. And thank you guys so much for joining me. And I wish you all blessings of Samhain.